This is just a video showing you some of the features of Photoshop Beta. If you download that to your own computers, the full version is coming out very soon. We're just going to create a completely black background in here with this. And you see already, I've pinned this up the top, so you can pin bar position or you can move it around. Mine's just pinned to the top, see that? So I can grab that and move it around. It's up to you. I just find mine handy up there, so I'm just going to pin it back up there. Right, pin bar position. In here, this is already available in Photoshop, which is the select subject tool, or object selection tool, should I say. Now I take that and I can hover over it and it will do it straight away. And I can just click there and it will select my object for me. Now, I've already shot this against a black background, so you notice that there's a wee bit there missing. We'll add that back in. But you notice all the faults in this. There's loads of faults in it, but it's just to show you how to quickly clean up some areas of this. This can apply to anything that you want to do. With the object selected, I want a black background for this. So I go to Filter. I go to Select, Inverse, and I now have the background selected. I'm going to paint the background in black, but I'm going to use the black that's already there so that there isn't any colour discrepancy. So I've chosen the brush, hold down Alt on my keyboard and the eyedropper appears. Click once, it's now selected that colour. Let's just check to see it's not pure black, as you see. So it's RGB 111, pure black is 000 and 6 zeros here, but we're going to work with the black we have here. Click OK. I'm just going to paint it out. Now, a wee tip here when you're painting out using the brush, if it's just to fill in a background, go for a solid hardness of edge and just paint it that way. It's quicker, it's less processing power in Photoshop, and it'll get you the results a lot quicker. And when it comes to print, if you've done it correctly, I can even choose the fill tool and do that. If you've done it correctly, you won't see any printing errors. Right, I need to fill this back in, and I need to get rid of this. It's balanced on a metal ruler here. So I'm going to go Control D and deselect. Then I'm going to hold down Z in my keyboard and zoom into this area. Now, this is probably the tool that no one likes using because it can be quite difficult to learn, but it's not really, because you don't have to learn how to cut out an entire object. If you just learn small sections of it, you can build up to an entire object. So I'm going to take the pen tool, and if I zoom right in so that you can see what's happening here, right, I'm going to bring that across. I'll zoom out just a tiny bit. I'm going to click there, right? Then I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to drag it out, and I'm going to drag it so that it tries to follow, if you watch this edge here, it tries to follow the base of this can. And once I've got it nearly correct, it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm going to let go. Right now you can see that there's two handles coming out from the edge, one handle there and one handle there. These handles allow you to twist it round. I don't need to do it with this one, that's why I'm showing you that just now. And then I'm going to click there, and I'm going to make it best suit that edge for me. Then I'm going to click down, using the space bar, move across the screen, and then close it starting on the first one. You can see the small zero that appears for closing the loop. From this, I'm going to go to selection. I'm going to click feather radius 2 pixels in this case. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush with a hard edge, paint that out, and then go Control deselect. So there you go. Couple of wee anomalies, we can tidy them up. I'll show you how to do that in another video though. In here, as I said to you, because of it's a black background and because there was no reflections on the top of this, that's a photographer error, but because there was no reflections on the top of this, I need to bring this back in really. And there's a couple of ways of doing this, right? So I am going to again use the pen tool. I'm going to zoom in a wee bit. And I'm going to start about there, that mess that's there, dust. That's what I'm going to show you how to get rid of. Then I'm going to go to what I roughly think is the middle of the cap. I can see my edge there. So I'm going to go to what I think is roughly the middle. And I'm going to pull that out until I think, I'll zoom out a bit because I can't see that other edge. It's too far. I've went too far. Control Z. So I'm going to go about here to try and give this a nice curve. And then go about, let's see if I can just join it straight back up here. There you go, that's as near as damn it for this. It's not perfect, but it gives you the idea. Then going to close that. Deselect. And I'm going to delete that. Right. 3, 2, 1. What I now need to do is bring back this. Now it's jet black here, or nearly black here and black here. So is it going to make a difference? Well, the answer is possibly not, because it's against a black background, but I'm going to show you anyway should you get small errors like this. I'm going to zoom in slightly so that I can see both edges. I'm going to click here, that small bit of dust, which I'll show you how to get rid of. Right, and then I'm going to click about here. I'm not going to go for the centre of it, because it is slightly elliptical. And then I'm going to go there, which I think might give me the shape. And as I can see here, there's a flat edge. So I can Control Z and Control Z. And let's take it a bit higher. Right, and all I'm doing with the mouse is pulling the mouse round. That creates what's called a Bezier curve. Right, so there we go, up there. I won't do it perfectly just so that you can get the idea. Sometimes it does take a wee while. Right, and then I'm going to do that. So that's roughly about right. Right, so without letting the mouse go, I'm going to hold down Alt in my... Without letting the mouse go, I'm going to hold down Alt in my keyboard. And now this handle is free to move in whatever direction I tell it to go. So I'm going to take it quite tight and go there. And then let go of Alt. And it creates this. So all I'm doing now is stretching this out just to fill this back in. And there is a possibility I'll fill this in black. And you can see it's not perfect here, but I'll let it go at that. And then I'm going to go selection. Okay. And if I want to hide the selection so that I can see what I'm working at, press Control and H in the keyboard. Now my selection's still there, which I'll prove to you. If I take the brush and I change it to white, it can only paint in there. So there's another way perhaps you might want to add in reflections. And those hard lines you're seeing there, that's the edge of the brush. Right, I'm going to step that back. For me, I know it is nearly jet black, but I want to put in a softer colour first. So I'm going to take the brush. This time I'm going to change the brush to a feathered edge. You can see that the hardness is 0. I'm going to go to a colour that is very, very close to the black area. So that looks like something in here. Right? Just roughly about that. And what is that? I see it's not just as dark. So it's 19. And to bring that up, I just clicked in the colour there. Before I paint this in though, I'll bring back my selection, Control and H. I'm going to copy this selected area up. So I'm going to go Control and J so that I'm still working on a blank layer. Right? Right, so 3, 2, 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy that bit of the image up. And I know it's a flat image, but I'm going to copy that up. So I'm going to go Control J and it copies it up. You'll just see it there, probably not in this screen. But if you want to see it, if I hover over the transparent area here, hold down Control, do you see the mouse is changing to a selection marquee? That's a great way of selecting anything that's on an individual layer on its own. There you go. There's my selection back. Again, I'm going to hide it. Control H. so that I can see what I'm working. Now I've selected my colour here already, and I'm going to paint it in, and it's going to look terrible. See that? It's nowhere near the black it should be for this. If I quickly zoom out, not noticeable there, but if you were finally printing this, what would happen? You would see that and it would stand out like a sore thumb, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to adjust the intensity of it. I'm going to do this so that it is destructive. That's just my choice for this image. So it's not going to be done via an adjustment layer. I'm going to make it a destructive edit. So I'm going to get into Image, Adjustments, and let's go, in this case, just to see brightness and contrast. If you use anything in here, in the Adjustments panel, it is destructive. You have to step back to undo it. So let's just go in for a wee bit more contrast. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. I can just see the edge and no more. And as I say, this has been shot wrong. That's my fault. I should have had a highlight on that edge so that you can see it. So this is just helping prepare that. I also can still tell from this screen that the colour is slightly different. So what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to adjust the colour of this. This time I'm going to get into the adjustments and I'm going to take hue saturation. And it's only working in this layer. Right now, if I adjust that, the entire bottle, the entire thing changes colour. So I need it only to affect this layer. If I hold down Alt and I hover up there, you see the wee arrow pointing down, click that. It's now shifted it to the side. It only affects this layer here. So it only affects that and doesn't affect the bottle underneath. I'm now going to pull the saturation out of it, just to get to something that I think will be okay. And that there, it's beginning to fade in. I can see the edge. It's a terrible photograph, but it's still there. For me, once I'm happy with that, what I'm going to do is crash all these layers together, and that's just Control and E, Control and E, and that's all the layers combined together. So now if I zoom right in there at 100 and where are we? I can just see it no more. 324, I can just see the slight colour shift. You probably won't see it in the video. Right, so that's how I would do that. So that's already cleaned up the base and it's cleaned up that. The selection tool is great that we used earlier. This tool here, it is brilliant, and the object selection tool, but at times it can cause anomalies down your edge. That's when, if you photograph it properly, you won't get the anomalies. And unlike me, you photograph this better than this and you won't get any soft edges or anything. But I'll show you how to quickly correct these. Or what I do with some projects is I'll go into the blur tool and at strength 100%, just to let you see, click once, hold down shift, click again, and then I'll go back up and I'll go back down. So that's 2 or 3 times I've went through that. Remember though, you are doing this, you're sacrificing. I can hold down shift now and go down there. I'll zoom it right out. By doing this, you are sacrificing the sharpness of the edge. But it just depends what the project's for. See that? So if I undo all that, see? But you can see where it's wrong. Right, let's go back in just to check that I've done that. Right, I still haven't stepped that back. There we go. So you can use the blur tool to do that. I could do it at 50%. It just happens to be set at 100%. Here's a couple of things for cleaning up these images now. Photoshop, the new version of Photoshop, which is the beta version, has the remove tool, and this version as well has the remove tool, right? So if I just click that, we've got certain things that we can do up here. We can sample all layers, we can change the size, you can get plus and minus, remove after each stroke. So if I click there, it's gone. If I click there, gone, gone. Now this actually is phenomenal. Let's see what it does here, this bit of thread up here. What I'm doing is I'm making sure I've got some of this in it and I've got some of the top in it. If I click there, see? It's absolutely brilliant, this. You can clean up a lot of mistakes, in this case dust, which is torture when you're shooting product. See, that's kept the straight edge. So this is a great one to do. You can take the brush size down of this as well, just be using the bracketing keys. So, and I can draw a line through it. I can click here. So it's a great, fast, and especially with the new Macs or whatever you've got at home, this is really, really fast, and it does the job better than the clone tool or anything like that. Right. So you get the idea of the cleanup. This edge here, I'll come back to in another video because it won't clean this edge perfectly, and I would end up clipping and pressing the button all the way along here to clean that up. I'll show you in another video a technique for removing that. This is just to show you how good the cleanup tool is. Everything in there so you can see that. It's great. Right, I won't labour the point, you know what's happening. That's how you can clean up images using the tool and also using. See, sometimes it will begin to lag, and that's because I did two things at the same time. If it does that, don't worry. I'll try and get it to make a mistake like this. It's not going to make the mistake now. Right, so if it does make a mistake, just take your all the way up, commit, so that it's applied to the current strokes. It will freeze at some point, and then just edit undo. So I can go in here, I can draw through there. I also do find that most of the time, one single click is effective instead of drawing through things. See? And I'll do that, and there you go. It's not perfect, but as you can see, 143. If you're shooting a product, make sure it's as clean as anything. No fingerprints, nothing. And that's that. Just a couple of wee quick tips.